Hey everyone, welcome to our channel. I'm Chris from Milesquare Technology Group. This will be a series of videos that we'll be creating to help educate anyone who is interested in being more secure, optimizing their IT infrastructure, and staying updated with the latest in technology trends. Stay tuned for tips, tutorials, and expert advice. Today we're going to be talking about crucial aspects of your digital security, setting up a strong password. Why strong passwords matter. Over 74% of data breaches involve the human element, including weak or stolen passwords. Ransomware attacks, which often exploit weak passwords, represent 24% of all breaches in 2023, according to Verizon. Protecting your data starts with a strong password, but it doesn't stop there. Nearly 80% of unauthorized data access is through bypassing passwords, the tech report, which is why MFA two-factor is also important. This series of videos to help educate a lot of people out there. I have a dog. You might hear him in the background at some point barking, or he might even come over and jump on me during a video. And I spent a lot of time with him, and I go throughout town, and I became really close with different and various communities. And some of my friends are younger, and some of them are older, and we all talk about things that, everyday life. Tech is one of those common things I hear all the time. This is what I do for a living. And, also my own family, they also talk about it, and they do things that sometimes I wish they didn't. And I wanted to create a series of videos that will help educate anyone who wanted to watch these videos, anyone that wants to improve anything, and hopefully in the long run, maybe it helps you. So I wanted to create these series of videos to educate. So one of the reasons to start why I'm going with this password as my first video was one of my dear friends was talking about their father and about how he writes all these passwords on a piece of paper. And I did recommend them that they should use a password manager, and this will be something I'll be talking about later in this video, but also in a future video I'll go into a little bit more detail about this. So let's go down to the deep dive of what is a strong password and what are the characteristics of a strong password. There are two core things with what's a strong password. Will be length and complexity. A strong password will have at least 12 characters long, and it'll be alphanumeric with special characters. So that will include upper characters, like uppercase characters, lowercase characters, numbers, and special characters. I'll try and include some in the video over here on the side, and as for some examples. Other avoid common pitfalls you want to use is easily guessable information. Don't use personal information like your name, birthday, or common words. I also don't recommend using pets or favorite sports teams. And I could give you some examples on why you should not from my own personal experience. Also, example of weak passwords will be 123456, password, QWERTY, which is the top row on your keyboard, ABC123. So other tips for creating and remembering strong passwords, because if we want to go back to the first point, is a strong password is at least 12 characters long. Microsoft is recommending 14 now, so you want to keep that in mind, that sooner or later they're going to want more and more, because with AI it's going to become easier to crack some of these passwords. So let's start with these tips for creating stronger passwords. So one of the easiest, best ways would be passphrases. So a passphrase is a group of random words, numbers, and symbols that you could easily remember, but not really easily identified by somebody else. So some examples would be horse battery staple, exclamation point 2024, coffee cup 7, exclamation point mountain, exclamation point. And you could use some of these different types of words and lump them together. But I could understand, hey, how do I do all these random words if you're telling me not to use anything that's easily traceable by me, which is fair. There's a thing called Password Manager, which I mentioned earlier in the video, that Essentially what it does is it automatically generates a strong password for you. It stores it securely and allows you to access it through a master password. And you might be already using this not knowing. So if you have an iPhone, they already have that built into um, the key store. They'll have all the passwords stored into it. And then you would need that master password just as your PIN code, your face, or your Apple Cloud account. They also have that with Chrome. They also have that with Edge. They also have that with Windows. And there's other third-party vendors that you could use, such as LastPass, Bitwarden, KeyPass, 1Password, and there's many more out there on there. My personal recommendation, I like to use password managers such as Bitwarden. It's open source. They've never been hacked, unlike some of the other ones out there. And also it cross-platform, so I could have Bitwarden on my iPhone, I could have it on my iPad, and I could also have it on my PC and my laptop. So that all my passwords will sync to all those devices, and there's an autofill population. So when I click on a field, it auto-populates, which is really nice too. So now I don't need to remember anything. The only thing I need to know is that one master password, as I mentioned before. You type that master password in, it would auto-populate for you. But you do need to configure that with Bitwarden. LastPass is a little bit out of the get-go. Regular updates is also another key component that you need to do with strong passwords. So you need to change those things regularly. Avoid reusing the same passwords across multiple sites and setting reminders, such as like use a calendar or a reminder app on your phone to change it every 3 to 6 months. Now, some of those, back to the password manager of the third party, LastPass, Bitwarden, they will remind you, and their security things where they'll actually scan other sites and tell you, hey, you had a data breach at this company. We recommend you changing your password. Also, we notice that you use that same password, which is also not a good idea, on all these other sites, which now potentially is a breach of your security. So we do recommend you changing those passwords. So that is actually one of the benefits of password managers. Some of them are actually, you'll change them for you, and some of them will just remind you, but some of them you have to dive in there a little bit deeper. Now, we talked about what creates a strong password, and it doesn't start there, but there's also the second component, which adds a second layer of protection, which is two-factor authentication. What is two-factor? What is 2FA? It basically enhances your security by enabling two forms of factor of authentication. The easiest example is if you go onto a flight, and you don't have the real ID, and they started requiring that, you have your state license, you hand that to the TSA agent, and they say, hey, this is not a real ID. We need two factors of authentication. So your second factor of authentication would be your password, and that will allow you onto a flight. That is essentially what two-factor is. So essentially the first factor would be your password, and you log on and you get into your email, but two-factor requires a second form of authentication, and typically you'll see them in different types of forms. The most common ones you're going to see is with banks, credit cards, and either Microsoft and Google accounts, where you have to get a prompt on your phone that you hit allow. Also, you might get a text text message with a code, and that code you got to input into it, or you even get a phone call that'll give the code and do the same thing. So that would be your second factor of authentication. Now, these are some of the different things that could make your password a little bit strong. At Mile Square Technology Group, we specialize in helping businesses secure their digital assets. Our team of experts is always here to assist you. Need help with setting up a strong password or enhancing your cybersecurity? Visit our website or give us a call. We're here to help. If you have any comments, questions, or any other things that you want to talk about in this video, please feel free to leave a message down in the comments. I'll be sure to check them and reach out to you. Also, remember, strong password is your first line of defense. Your second line is two factors. So when you can, always enable two-factor. That's always an extra layer of protection. And to give you some examples, that if someone was able to get into your email, but you didn't have that enabled, you wouldn't know. But if somebody tried to get into your email, you'll get prompted and your account will get locked out. But without that second form of two-factor, there'll be no one to be able to get in there. Make sure to follow us on social media. We'll leave some messages down there. If you like this message, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Talk to you later. Bye.